Hi, it's Diana, and I am from An Ageless Life. And this month, I'm going to be talking about movement and why movement is important and what it does for you. And I'll also be giving some exercises or things that you can do regardless of where you are. But before we jump into that, and again, today's segment is about why it's important to move and the impact that it has on your body, your mind, your overall well-being, and how you think and show up in the world. But before I start with that, I want to tell you a little story about something that happened when I was a child. I came home from school one day, and I think I was in maybe second grade or so. And my grandmother was at the house, and I was extremely upset. It had been one of those days which at school I'd been bullied, and I was angry, and I didn't want to talk to anybody, and I was stomping around and throwing things. And what my grandmother did was she said, "Okay, I want you to grab the rugs that are out in the front." We had rugs that where you walk in the door, you kind of wipe your feet off. She said, "I want you to take those outside and I want you to beat the rugs," which basically meant she had this special tool that you use, you held on to it, and you basically got rid of all the dust and the dirt that was in it, and then you brought it back in. And so she had me do one of those, and I came back in and I was still a little grumpy, and she said, "Okay, I want you to go out and do a second one." And what I noticed as part of that process is that my anger started to be released. And I actually started feeling much better. And when I went back into this the second time, my grandmother asked me, "Okay, now tell me what happened today." And I was able to really verbalize to her what had happened. I communicated it much easier. I didn't have all of the anger associated with what happened. Did I still have the angst associated with being bullied? Absolutely. But the way that I held that in my body was much, much different. And now we know that there is a ton of science that supports the fact that our emotions are stored in our body, and the way that we can relieve stress, tension, all of those kinds of things is through movement. So I want to talk about that a little bit more and really expand on that so you have a really good idea of why it is so important. And then the other thing is to begin to understand that you don't have to do it in 45-minute block of time. There are little things that you can do throughout the day that really help to release that tension. And also there are ways that then you can use that as a feedback mechanism to say, "Gosh, I feel tight in my body. What's going on?" So the science tells us that when we don't move, our body has a tendency to become much less efficient, or let's put it this way, doesn't do as good a job in fighting off infections. Our immune system doesn't work as well. It has to work much harder in order to fight off infections. Other things that we know is that through movement, there is a natural release of endorphins. And in case you don't know what endorphins are, those are the feel-good natural drugs that you have that are released in the brain. So, for example, we've all heard about people saying they had a runner's high, or after doing a certain activity, they felt really good and lots of energy and those kinds of things. And that's because of the release of these neurotransmitters or hormones, whichever you want to call them, in the brain that actually make us feel better. The other thing that happens with movement is we sleep better. Our bodies were designed to move. They're not designed to sit in a chair for 6 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours a day. They're not designed to sit in front of a television or a laptop or any of those kinds of things. It's designed to move. You can see by the way that our bodies are built, we're designed to walk and to move in the world. That's the way that our feet are built. That's the way that our vision is built. All of those kinds of things are for us to move. Also, movement improves digestion because it stimulates the movement through the gastrointestinal tract. It impacts how our muscles work in the core area, the middle section of our body, and really focus on making sure that things move through quickly. When we lose the tone in that area, things get sluggish and slow down, and that never feels good. So we've talked about improved sleeping. We've talked about changes in the mood, not only because we've worked out that aggression or the tightness or tension, but also because of the natural release of endorphins. Alters the mood. In other words, people that are depressed, if they begin to go out and move, it actually changes the neurochemistry of the brain and improves the symptoms and makes people feel better. In other words, less depression. Also, because of the endorphin release in the brain, people have less pain. So rather than turning to some kind of pain medication, looking at moving your body. Now, that's not to say that if you have some type of injury or something along those lines and you've been given direction not to move that area, but there may be other areas of your body that you can move that will also make you feel good and relieve that tightness or tension or emotion that you have stored in your body. So we know now, again, depression, thinking clearly, that's another one that happens when we move. When we're moving around, our body becomes more efficient at getting rid of the things that it doesn't need, but it also becomes more efficient at rebuilding tissue. Movement stimulates your body to tear down the stuff that's not working and rebuild it with the stuff that actually is working, and to build a stronger body. So I think we have enough reasons as to understand why it's important to move. For me personally, I like to move in ways that are dance oriented. I feel much better. I think clearer. I sleep better. I am happier and more willing to step in to do new and challenging things because I feel like I'm in a place where I can actually take those things on. So this is part of a series that I'm doing, and my focus is movement. We have spent a lot of time the past year or so in not being able to move. In my climate right now, it has been really, really cold outside. Other places, and I have people on other hemispheres that right now they're in the middle of summer and it's extremely hot there. So they're getting ready to enter into the fall season, which again, they haven't been able to go outside or interact with other people because of the current state of the world. So now we need to find ways that we can move, that feel good, and that really help us think better, feel better, eat better food, because after all, sometimes when we're tired and cranky, we reach for sugar or carbs or any of those kinds of things. And we really don't need those. We need to find another way to feel better. And movement is the key for this month. So stay tuned for more. And if you have anything in particular, question about movement, pop it in the chat and I'd be happy to chat with you about it. Take care. And that is it for today. Again, get out there and move that body. Thanks. Bye-bye.